Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royce. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. Agnieszka Pilat is a painter who works with the sound of the most advanced robots. The National Gallery of Victoria in Melbourne, Australia announced in April 2023 that Pilat's three Boston Dynamics robot painting installations will be exhibited alongside with the Yoko Ono, Stacey Ima, and
Scapalelli
for 4 months. Let's welcome Agnieszka. Let her share this exciting news with us. Hello, Agnieszka.
Hi, Daphne. Great to be here. Thank you.
Please tell us about yourself and how you started to create art with the robot.
Sure. So I was trained as a classical painter. And first, I really liked comic books, actually. But then I transferred to fine art, to portraiture. And for the long time, I painted portraits of human beings. And then it occurred to me that portraiture historically really is all about power in society, aristocracy in society. And being in Bay Area, in Silicon Valley, it was very clear to me that it's the machine, it's technology, that's the aristocracy of now. So I started painting portraits of machines and technology, and that's how I entered into robotics ultimately.
When I saw on your website displayed a past painting of a little ballerina, is that you?
That's my little cousin from Poland. So I painted, a lot of them. And still today, when I paint machines, it kind of informs how I paint, because again, this was just very classical painting. So yeah, she lives in Poland. She's still a ballerina, and she's my little cousin.
So what is important to connect art and technology?
Because art is, I think of art and art is kind of like, we can point to things that's happening in culture and be almost sometimes like early warning signs of what's happening, what's to come. So again, portraiture is very interesting because it really follows the power in society. So when you look historically, first portraits would be religious. I'm talking about mostly about Western history because I grew up in Poland. So old portraiture would be kings and queens and aristocracy. Then when capitalism was born, you would have Dutch merchants commissioning portraits to indicate their growing power. Then fast forward, maybe I'm going to go to my childhood in Poland, communism behind the Iron Curtain. So the working class was the subject of portraiture, and the Warhol celebrity portraits. Now we are in a moment of very hyper me society. We're hyper narcissistic. So number one, portraits now is selfie. So everyone takes selfies. And I think the next stage is, and we are entering, is where technology is the next power broker in society. So that's why I started painting portraits of machines.
Very interesting. Your famous quote, "To understand the feature, we must understand the machine." How significant are machines to our future from your point of view?
Yeah, I think they are very significant for two reasons. Number one, humans, we've always been tool makers, and tools just became very sophisticated, and our tools became machines. So they're a part of our human family in that sense. And then also because very often is the brightest minds and the brightest organizations working on technology, they are really an essence of the highest of human achievement. So I think that's why we can, by following the trajectory of technology, we can really follow the trajectory of our culture, of human culture.
You have a software allow robot to paint. Does the software control how robot paint?
So my story, how I keep working with robots, I first painted a portrait actually of Spot, of Boston Dynamics Spot. And then engineers came to me and they're like, well, you should really play with the robot and paint with the robot. So that's how kind of I started working with the robot. At first, I would manually operate it. Then there was another robotics company I worked with, Agility Robotics. And then I had to start using code to operate that robot, because that robot, you couldn't just have like a, like a controller. And now going into the exhibition in Australia, because I can't be there, so the robots have to be autonomous. Then I had to build a team and have engineers that actually write the software so the robots can act autonomously. And so that's the software that's really driving the robots. And there's some crossover with artificial intelligence, but AI and robotic is not the same thing, but they meet often and more these days.
And your artwork and robot-made art have a similar using of circles and lines. Is there any coordination in creation?
Yes, so there are two aspects why the work looks like that. So one of the reasons is, I think, of these robots as kind of young children, in quotes, of course, they are robots, they are not really humans, but their age, if I were to think about Spot in human years or robot years, I would think that's not an adult or not an old person, it's definitely a young child. So everything that the robot does, kind of the aesthetics, they reflect the age of the robot. So they paint a little bit like children, almost like finger painting, because they're not very skilled. So that's number one. Number two, how the robot work looks was also my process of learning how to work with robots. So as much as I wanted to do certain things, because of the way they're built and they operate, I couldn't do, for example, a big circle. So I did only small circles because that's the only thing I could do back then. So it became a very concise language that it's a language, very, very, very specific to the robots I work with. And on one hand, it's a limitation, but because of the limitation, actually, when you repeat the same symbol over and over again, the meaning becomes very important. So so there are 16 symbols in the work of the robots, and all the work is within these 16 symbols.
Do you give a name to all their paintings?
Yes, I do give them names, although, yes. Right now, because I'm so focused on the exhibition in Australia, the names are just numbers at this point, and it became very confusing. So actually, this is a good question, because I have to rethink the naming system, because sometimes I forget what is the name. But the first ones were also a bit of again, my experience working with the robots. One of the first ones we painted together was Madonna and Child, and was kind of like interpretation of me as the parent for the robots. It was me and Basha, my robot. I was the mother and I was the child, but also a bit of a religious undertones, a little bit of mysticism. So some paintings are kind of tribute to the art history.
Is it Basha and other two robots also paint equally?
Yes, so the show in Australia will have 3 robots. 2 of them are mine. One is on loan from a university in Australia, and 2 of them will be painting, and the third one is more of a kind of narcissistic personality child that just walking around and will be posing for selfies and trying to get attention from the public. So, and that's Bunny. Bunny it reflects a bit of moment again in narcissistic, and Bunny is really embracing it.
Wonderful.
Why does robot-made art only use acrylics and oil sticks?
Yeah, well, part of it just a practical reason. So I always do the ground in acrylic because it fast dries and it's a good ground for the oil sticks. And the robots don't use acrylic because I want to really use traditional materials. So oil stick is just, but it's actually very high quality European made oil paints. For me, that kind of jazz and mixing on old and new technology is very important to me. So, painter technology, and this is an important conversation right now because there is generative AI and there's been so much controversy, large language models using, or should I say actually image models training on art that's made by humans. And of course there are lawsuits happening, but what's missing in that conversation is that artists always use technology, and from the most significant, of course, using a stick first cavemen, when they started using a stick to make art, there was already technology. That's what we do as humans. The biggest disruption or change in art and technology were two moments in history. Photography was a huge disruption, but painting survived, even though, of course, there was a moment for painting that changed painting forever. And perhaps that's why we have abstract painting also, because painters were no longer interested in mimicking what's there because they just could use a photograph. And number two was Impressionism, actually. So before Impressionism, artists had to make their own paints by having pigments and oils and being really chemists very often in their studios. When paint tubes came around, artists were able to go out and paint outside. And there was a very big disruption also. And I'm guessing some artists maybe were also upset, like, well, so you're not making your own paints now? Are you still an artist? So these disruptions happen very often. So for me, working with robotics, I like mixing old technology and new technology, very, very traditional materials, and these would be oil sticks.
For your painting, not robots, what kind of medium do you use?
I use only oil paints and Belgian linen. I don't use any acrylic. And that comes a little bit from the fact that I think about these paintings as royal portraits, and they deserve the most expensive materials to really, as if the same way I would treat, or in the old days, a court painter would treat aristocracy, their patrons, the same way I paint my machines, using very traditional, very top quality materials. And actually right now, I have a studio at SpaceX and I'm painting also in SpaceX, and I moved this even higher, more prestige by using gold leaf. So almost moving from just aristocracy toward religious paintings by using gold leaf that's reserved only for, for gods and for royals who are also, godlike creatures.
You were one of the speakers at Tech AI this year, and you are currently a guest artist at Agility Robotics and SpaceX. Can you share your experiences?
Yes, so TED AI was a wonderful group of people, very honored to have spoken there. And my whole talk really was about thinking of artificial intelligence as a collective child of humanity, and how it's very important how we behave online versus in real life, because AI is learning about humanity, observing what's happening online. So that's one problem. Even though I am tech optimist, I'm very pro technology, I think the problem with AI, large language models are flawed because human beings, we don't live on the internet. We live in real life. So when you have AI, narrow, human experience, which is not always the nicest experience. And in fact, at TED, I get an example that when I'm outside with my robot, people are really nice and they ask questions, they're curious. As soon as there's videos of me walking down the street with the robot, the experience, very mean comments appear. People start accusing me of surveillance, robots taking over, and that doesn't make any sense. But the problem is that the internet is watching these mean comments, and that's where the language models are learning from, and this is what AI is learning from. So it's important that as humanity, we start really be very careful how we behave online, because this is what AI is training on. I guess to other part of your question, agility robotics and SpaceX. Well, I'm always have so much fun doing these residencies, and it's a great privilege. They don't really, the places I go to don't really have official residency, so I find a way to get invited, and it's a lot of trust from the companies they give me because they really open their doors, and I see a lot. And it just working with teams is so much fun, and engineers are super curious, and they always appreciate giving them a bit of a, I think, moral validation that what I see as an artist, that they are pushing the envelope, pushing the world in a better place, so that they are working on technology to make life better for human beings. And I think that's what kind of what I bring to these companies as an artist.
Do you have any tech training yourself?
No, I'm not that technical. I'm probably more technical than an average person, but I'm not an engineer or a software programmer. So I have always, team of people helping me. With the robot, especially with the show in Australia, there's been a big lift technically.
What's the most difficult parts to work with tech alongside with your artwork?
So I mean, it's both good and difficult. So it's difficult because I have to let go of control, and I can't control everything, and I depend on other people. I'm quite introverted, so I'm really the happiest working by myself. And working with tech really opened my eyes and taught me how humanity will really depend on teams. It's all about collaboration. That's why we can accomplish these amazing things. Like now I'm in New York and looking around, one person you have this cumulative result of generations working together on hard problems. And I think that's what kind of I learned from working with technology, that this is not just me with a paintbrush, that, I have to collaborate with other people, which is both difficult but wonderful at the same time.
I can understand that. And let's go back and talk about your exhibition. Your Australian exhibition is coming up soon. Can you tell us how much time it took to set up these art installations? Will your 3 robots travel with you to Australia?
Yeah, so the robots are already in a crate somewhere flying over the ocean. They're probably landing in Australia in a couple of days. So I can't, they're too big, and there is big lithium batteries that I can't bring on the plane with me. So they have to go separate. Well, it's been a learning experience. So the first time the curator from the museum reached out to me, that was like 2 years ago now. And he proposed this idea and was very ambitious. And back then I had no idea how to do it, but I figured I'm gonna say I know how to do it. So it was very, because don't they say about men that men always say, yeah, sure, I can do it, and they figure it out. So I figured I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna just say, yes, I can do it, even though I had no idea how to do it. So it's been extremely, huge learning experience. The best way to describe it is, I like to compare it to a Tesla or any other self-driving car. So, you have a self-driving car, and it's pretty good. It can park itself, kind of sees what's going on, but you're always in it. Now you take that car and you ship it off to a different continent, and you just let it drive for 4 months. So that's kind of the problem I'm solving. So there is staff at the museum, but of course they are not engineers. So all they can do is really in the morning, just turn on the button and have the robots, connected to electricity. That's all. We've been working on it now. Just engineering took almost a year. And just relationships also with, other counters, because there is 3D printing involved. So we needed to involve just other teams of people also because of that exhibit. So art really brings people together, just like technology.
I know you're going there soon. Are you excited?
Oh God, I mean, I am excited, but also I'm very stressed out that like till it's done, I'm that we are forgetting something because it's a very tech-centered exhibit, so it's technically very, very difficult. I'm so exhausted from all year of working that yeah, I hope I can get into the mode of enjoying it. But I can't wait to see, build the museum because they build like an environment for the robots, some interior design going on for the robot home from your background. So no, it's a very big deal. It's a great honor, and I guess I'm excited. Yes.
It is a big deal. I hope I have a chance to go there and just watch it myself.
It's up for 4 months, so it opens December 3rd, and it's running through April 8th. And so the first day you come in, it's like white cube, there's nothing there. And the robots are autonomously making work during 4 months. So yeah, and there's one, and again, one robot bunny, kind of more of a prima donna walking around, and 2 robots are working, moving stuff around once it's open.
May I ask you, what would the robot made? Was purpose to create art, or they had other purpose?
So it's mostly to make paintings, to create art. But of course, what it really means is it's asking a lot of questions about human creativity, what it really means. Should we be making art if like robots can make it? But with AI, starting to realize we have patterns that are quite predictable, and AI now can mimic these patterns. So I think what's interesting for me working with technology and artificial intelligence is asking a lot of questions about what does it mean to be human, what does it mean to be creative, how we also run on program. We are very also, just turnkey and kind of autonomy, the same thing over and over again. So I think it's a lot of questions about humanity.
Please share how people can contact you or find information about your Australian exhibition.
Sure. So ideally, the best thing is stay in touch and follow new stuff. It's always my Instagram account, which is my name, Agnieszka _Pilat. Should I spell that out? AGNIESVKA _PILAT. That's my Instagram, just to stay in touch, or you can go to National Gallery of Victoria website, and yeah, and come in December. December 3rd is the opening.
Okay, I will link your Instagram account, your website, and also the Victoria exhibitions information in this interview.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Agnieszka. I really appreciate your time and those information for listeners.
Thank you, Daphne. I appreciate. Thank you.